we think we know everything and we don't think that attacks are necessarily going to happen to us. Students can often easily even be like the easiest targets just because of how much time we're online.
Welcome to Next Gen Cyber, the monthly podcast from the U.S. Cyber Range of Virginia Tech. I'm Shannon Beck, Director of the U.S. Cyber Range and Virginia Cyber Range. Recently, I was given an assignment to talk with someone about their experience with internet safety education. And I thought, what better way to do that than to sit down with both a teacher and a student who live it every day? So today we're exploring what internet safety looks like in schools and how it connects to a broader cybersecurity awareness. Joining me are Christy Rice, cybersecurity instructor at Spotsylvania High School, 2021 Presidential Cybersecurity Education Award recipient, chair for the Virginia Cyber Range K-12 Advisory Committee, coach for the U.S. Cyber Team, and Christy's nice K-12 co-chair, COI co-chair with me is Jake Goodwin. He is a senior at Spotsylvania High School, member of Virginia's Department of Education's Internet Safety Council, SANS Scholar with honors for both 23 and 24, and the Chief Hacking Officer of the Spotsylvania Cyber Knights, who's been learning firsthand what it means to stay safe and smart online. Jake and Christy, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
So I want to talk a little bit about backgrounds and pathways into cybersecurity, and really, I want you guys to share your stories about cybersecurity, safety, and education. So, Christy, I'm going to start with you, and just basics. What led you into teaching cybersecurity?
So I think I follow along like every other high school teacher that they've been voluntold to teach. I do have a background my degree is in an information system, so there's some technology background. I've always tinkered since I was a kid with things, but in 2017 they said that we're going to be developing cybersecurity at the high school level, and I attended the Gen Cyber teacher camp at Virginia Tech, and it just took off from there.
Nice. What do you most enjoy about introducing to students like to technology and online safety? What's like the favorite thing you have?
What I enjoy most is watching students realize that they're not just using technology, that they can understand it, shape it, and themselves, uh, protect themselves with it. Um, but when they learn how to stay safe online and recognize risks, you can see their confidence grow. That moment when it clicks and they feel empowered rather intimidated, is what keeps me passionate about, doing this. But
I like that empower over intimidation or that just being afraid of that technology. Jake, I'm going to turn to you and ask how you first became interested in cybersecurity.
Okay. So I've always been a very technology heavy kind of kid. And so when I was in eighth grade, they introduced a IT fundamentals class at my middle school. And I was very passionate about that class. I was always trying to race the teachers to get the assignments done before she went over the instructions. And so we had a very good relationship. And so at the end of the year, I asked her basically what the next step was for when I went into high school. And so she mentioned Mrs. Rice's cybersecurity class. And so all summer long, that's like all I was thinking about was getting ready to get into that class freshman year. And then it just went on from there.
Nice. And so you said eighth grade, and now what year are you in high school?
I'm a senior now.
So you're a senior now. That's what I thought.
Mhm.
I wanted to make sure. And so you've kept that curiosity into the field. And so what's keeping that alive for you?
So I really like, and I think it's very interesting like how broad and how like ever changing cybersecurity is as a field. And so like there's always something new to learn. You can't like know everything. Like there's no possibility to like know everything. So I'm like able to develop my knowledge like year after year after year. and learn new skills. And then like the constant evolution of threats and defenses always changing allows me to like challenge myself to think differently and come up with new strategies all the time. And I just think it keeps it exciting.
Did you have a specific moment or a project in class or something that made you like, wow, this is something I could really do in my job, in my life?
Yes, yes, I did. So, in freshman year, I think it was like a little bit after first couple weeks of school, Miss Rice introduced this new foreign concept called a CTF to me in the form of a game called Cyberstar America, which is sadly no longer in like use, but it had a bunch of hands-on challenges, had like different had like a coding base, had like a reconnaissance base, forensics, cryptography. And so getting to see like all of those like areas broke down and figure out how to solve those kind of challenges and like actually like work through it in my mind and then like keep those skills for challenges going on in the future, it just kind of hooked me onto it.
That's awesome. For our listeners who don't know what a CTF is, that's a capture the flag competition. And we here at the Virginia and US Cyber Ranges have a cloud-based cyber competition CTF that's also available that I love because again, like you just said, it's gamified, it's really engaging. And so thank you for telling that story. It's really inspiring to hear how people find their way into the field. And usually like there's like a
Mm.
motivation and a passion. And I know internet safety doesn't sound necessarily like the most engaging or hook thing, but I don't know. It's so important and I just I'm pretty passionate about it. So, let's talk about what internet safety looks like in your classroom, and like both like from the teacher side and the student side. So well, again, I'll start with Christy about, how do you approach teaching internet safety and what are some examples or something that you might do in your classroom?
Um, so I approach internet safety the same way I approach cybersecurity as a whole, through real world scenarios and hands-on practice. In my classroom, students don't just hear about phishing or privacy risks, they analyze real examples. We run simulations. We practice making safe choices. We utilize the Virginia Cyber Range for that. Um, or we might actually launch a phishing attack on our school, with permission, but getting some training out there for our teachers as well. But we also break down why threats work and how to spot them and what steps to protect, ways to, protect you. But it becomes less about rules and more about building habits and confidence. So students leave knowing how to navigate the digital world safely and responsibly.
Nice, thank you. Have you seen students' understanding or attitudes about online safety change over time?
Yes, over time, I've seen students shift from thinking online safety is just a list of rules, like I mentioned, to understanding that it's actually a life skill. Early on, many of them assume it won't happen to me, but as they work through real scenarios, and they analyze threats and they see how easily people can be targeted, they start taking it seriously. They move from being passive users of technology to becoming more aware, cautious, empowered digital citizens. So that mindset shift is one of the most meaningful parts of teaching.
Not
That,
if, but when it happens to me.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so Jake, I'm going to turn to you now. What stands out to you the most from these lessons or discussions?
So what I think like most stands out to me as a student is like how many like other students around me when we like discuss it, like kind of get like that aha or the moment. And I feel like internet safety mostly gets overlooked by the younger generation because we're just always online, so we don't necessarily think about the risks. But when we talk about topics like digital footprints and phishing, especially with digital footprint, how it can carry on with you the rest of your life now that everything's digital, you can really see how much the students like realize that it applies to them currently.
Has it evolved for you from your freshman year to your senior year, that digital footprint or the sort of meaning of that as you're looking at colleges or possible future careers? Has that shifted?
Me personally, I've always kept my digital footprint like pretty much on lockdown, you know.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to keep like the most professional online profile as possible, and especially with going into colleges and everything, I want to make sure I'm building out like things that I do. I know that's going to be online, so maybe when I'm like having people look me up or something, want them to see like positive things that I'm doing and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're writing your own story in a responsible way. What do
I
you
know.
think? Oh, go ahead, Christy.
I was going to say something I do with them freshman year is we do this whole Google yourself and
Oh yeah, that was fun.
we go through their digital footprint and their parents' digital footprint. And it's a conversation I have with the students, but it's also a conversation and an email that I send home to parents and be like, hey, this is what, we did today. And then I also share tips about, getting their information off, the white pages. And then one of the things that some parents have enjoyed is, I send home information for them to blur their home on Google Street View. And they just parents just are like, oh, thank you so much. I never knew that people could see that much of my house. So
Nice. Thank you for that. That's bringing it right back to the internet safety. Why do you think the internet safety is such an important starting point for students learning about cybersecurity? You mentioned those digital footprints and parents and guardians. Um, why do
Okay,
you start there? Yeah.
so as a student, I know many kids my age tend to basically like spend most of their life on their phone. And so starting with internet safety kind of makes everything else in cybersecurity make sense because before you start learning advanced topics like network security, you kind of need to know the basics of how to protect yourself online. And once you have those steps, you can also spread it around the school with your peers and help them build up that knowledge about it. And so once you have and understand that foundation, it kind of makes it easier to build off for other cybersecurity concepts.
Nice. So Jake, I'm going to kind of go with that. Or do you have like a misconception or like just a total misinformation thing about internet safety you've heard or that somebody's trying to tell you?
Um, Maybe not necessarily like tell me, but I know like a big misconception like with kids, it's just that we think we know everything and we don't think that like attacks are necessarily going to happen to us. We only think that maybe like, oh, only like the breaching attacks happen to large companies or only adults fall for this kind of thing. So it's important to really just understand that students can often easily even be like the easiest targets just because of how much time we're online. And just to make sure that we're using common sense, you know.
Yeah. No, thank you for that perspective and that information. It's one thing to teach the basics of being safe online, but like you mentioned, you and your generation and your students around you, they're just on their phone, living a digital life every day, all day, sometimes all night. So now I wanted to look at what that means. We kind of started to talk about how you live and learn in a connected world every day. And that's very different from the way that I learned um, back when it was just books and papers. And I remember, having a typewriter for most of high school and not even a computer to work on. So very different and obviously pre-smartphone at that time. So the student perspective and your digital life, we kind of talked about just the internet safety. But Jake, how do students your age talk about privacy or social media or security just online? Is that a conversation? What does that look like?
We do actually have some conversations about that, but they're pretty surface level. One of the things we do actually talk about a lot is getting phishing emails or spam emails because our school actually just sends us phishing emails, and so every time we see one, we just like send it like a text to the group chat, and let everyone know like, oh, there's a new one. Just don't click on it. They're not actually gonna give you a job because they're targeting us unemployed high schoolers. So we talk about those. We also talk about like how people just try and steal like your social media, like some like fake account might try and ask for your phone number, try and get into like another friend's account, and they like play on your emotions. So we talk about watching out for social engineering stuff like that.
Nice. And then what kinds of online risks or challenges feel most real to your generation? You mentioned
Um,
like that
okay, so
phishing. No, so
yeah,
like,
yeah,
like you kind of started to dive into that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. So
are there other things too?
yeah, really like what I've noticed the most is definitely social engineering like I was talking about because so many of my friends have fallen for a social engineering scam either on Instagram or whatever and had their accounts taken over. Basically what they do is like scammers gets into somebody's account and then since they're logged in as your friend, they send you like, hey, I'm logged out of whatever, send me your phone number or let me into your account or something. And people fall for it because it's coming from their actual friend's account. And so once they send off that information, they take over their account and it just spreads and spreads and spreads. And so it just really shows the importance of common sense, knowing who you're talking to, and then also having a secure password to stop all this from happening in the first place.
So talking about that secure password, I'm going to go on that. That's
Okay.
like one instance of you putting safe online habits into practice. Are there any others that you really can think of that stand out?
Yes, yes. Okay, so I personally have a lot, like a long list of passwords. They're all crazy. And also I use multi-factor authentication for everything I can.
Perfect.
Even if like typing in all the codes and everything can be tedious and annoying, it's not worth having everything getting stolen or used in places like social media or LinkedIn and stuff like that. I make sure to only add people I know in real life. I stay careful with links when I get them in messages. I just genuinely don't trust them, and I just always try to make sure I have my head on a swivel and to use common sense.
Nice. Christy, have you learned anything listening to Jake and how he views these issues?
Um, yeah. So I learn something new all the time. And it's great. So listening to students like Jake, has shown me just how differently this generation experiences digital life. Like, Jake is thoughtful, aware, and honest about, the pressures and risks, he sees online. But, and that insight helps me understand what students really need from us as, teachers. His perspectives remind me that um, internet safety isn't about fear, it's about giving students tools that match their reality. So when I hear how they interpret threats or navigate the social space, it pushes me to make lessons more relevant, more relatable, and more supportive. So yeah, students like Jake has help shape why I teach. So yeah.
So either of you can jump in on this one. Do you think there's differences between what adults are concerned about online and what younger students are concerned about?
I mean, I can take a stab at it.
Sure.
I mean, yeah, I'm cool too. So,
Okay.
Miss Rice, if you want to go first, you can.
Okay. So I feel adults often worry about the big headline grabbing threats, identity theft, scams, data breaches. On the other hand, students, they're dealing with the day-to-day issues that feel more like, they're more personal pressure about sharing information, managing digital friendships, unwanted messages, and navigating apps that change constantly. I think I've heard a couple complaints today about a couple apps, changing, and they're just so frustrated. So,
Jake, you want to add to that?
So what I was gonna say is that I feel like there are differences, but I feel like they're pretty minimal because at least from my parents, their worries about the big headline things, they are real. Like they do happen online. But they are like more unlikely compared to the more common day-to-day phishing, social engineering type of thing. So I feel like what adults worry about, it's important to still have those worries, but it's also important to take into account the fact that those aren't as common and also to understand what more common issues are
Okay.
students.
Yeah, listening to both of you, it's clear that these lessons do more than just teach students to be careful online. You mentioned again and again the importance of building confidence. And when students feel confident, they start taking on new challenges and even lead the way for others, much like Jake is doing. Just awesome job, Jake. So let's talk about how that sense of responsibility and curiosity can grow into leadership and in some cases, even a future career in cybersecurity. So I really want to focus now on showing again, that you started off with this interest in eighth grade, and now let's kind of talk about um, Jake. I'm going to jump to you actually first and ask, like, do you see yourself um, in a cybersecurity career, and like, has your view of technology impacted, your future thoughts and plans?
Yes, 100%. So my goal right now is to um get into Virginia Tech engineering, hopefully, fingers crossed, go Hokies. And to from there get a study cybersecurity and networking. The reason I really want to do that is because cybersecurity opened up like a whole behind the scenes world of technology that I wasn't really familiar with. You see like mainframes and stuff in movies, but it's not like that at all. So like normally you just see like the front end of things, like on social media, you see posts and messages. But cybersecurity showed me all of the things on the back end, like networks, packets, and vulnerabilities, and like how everything works together. And I just thought that was really cool, and it really made me wanted to like pursue it as a career and just do it for as long as I can see in the future.
That's amazing. And I feel like that excitement and that passion and that interest led to you being selected as the student keynote speaker for the NICE K-12 conference coming up December 2025. We'll be there as well. And I just wondered what inspired you to share your story at that event.
So what really inspired me to do this is really how much cybersecurity has done for me in just such a short time. Like even from just starting my first CTF, I gained skills and opportunities and connections through Miss Rice and opportunities like this. And even getting to do the Gen Cyber program at Virginia Tech this summer, helping out. Without this, I wouldn't have been able to meet all these wonderful people on the nice K-12 board or here today. And I just want to share my story so that other students can see what's possible just by getting started.
Without revealing too much, because we've got your big keynote coming up in December. Is there a message that you hope other students or educators take away from your talk?
So my main message for people like me is that even something small like trying your hardest in a CTF in your first year or anything can just lead to so many opportunities because cybersecurity is full with just plenty of paths and possibilities for each person that goes into it because it's just a constantly developing, expanding field. And so one moment of just trying your hardest can lead to connections and experiences that shape your entire future.
So, Jake, you're a success story of Christy. And so, Christy, I'm going to ask how you help students move from that learning about online safety or cybersecurity to thinking more like cybersecurity professionals.
Um, so I help students, make that leap by showing them that online safety is really a foundation of cybersecurity thinking. So once they understand how threats work and why people fall for them, we start breaking it down to, you know, down the attacker's perspective, analyzing digital evidence, practicing defensive strategies. Um, I also give them hands-on challenges like, spotting a phishing attempt to solving CTF challenges. So I'm a big believer in using CTFs in my classroom, as much as I can. So, um, I just want them to, begin to think like, problem solvers, not just a user.
So, Christy, what advice do you have for other teachers to help students, help the students take lead in their own conversations about safety on the online?
I think the most powerful thing teachers can do is just create a space for students to, own the conversation, giving them roles like, leading peer discussions or analyzing real world scenarios, or teaching a safety tip to class. That builds confidence and leadership. And when students realize their voice matters and their insights can help their peers, they naturally want to step forward and take the lead.
Nice.
So yeah. And you can also get your students out to cybersecurity conferences and or networking events to build relationships with those in industry.
Great advice. Thank you so much for sharing. And just as a reminder to hear Jake's keynote directly, be sure to attend the NICE K-12 conference in Nashville this December 8th and 9th in 2025. Thank you again. Those are such thoughtful perspectives. I want to close with a little more practical advice that our listeners can take away from this conversation. And Christy, what's one simple thing a teacher or families can do to help build safer digital habits?
Um, one of the one of the easiest and most impactful thing teachers or families can do is talk openly and regularly about what's happening online, without judgment. A quick check-in about a new app, a weird message, or a privacy setting can make a huge difference. When students feel comfortable asking questions and know that they won't get into trouble for being honest, you know, they're much more likely to make safer choices and just be an open line of communication that builds habits that last.
Absolutely. Thank you. Okay, Jake, your turn. What advice would you give other students about staying safe and smart online?
Okay, so first of all, I would just say the most important thing is common sense. Because if you have common sense, if you're able to determine between whether a message or account is real or whether the link or email looks suspicious, it's basically like the first step. And if something feels off about like whether you get a message for someone that looks like your friend, the easiest way is just to contact the person with another form of communication because yeah, that'll tell you if it's your friend or not.
Real
Another thing is
communication. Yeah.
yeah, another thing is password security is very important. So don't take those passwords for granted. Don't just make it something simple. Even if you like it's the only way you can remember it, write it down somewhere secure, because reusing passwords that can be leaked in a data leakage somewhere out there, and then if it's something you use for everything, then all your passwords can be compromised. So just make sure you keep them updated, make sure you use multi-factor authentication, because these habits really make a big difference.
Yeah, they do. Thank you for emphasizing those. Do either of you have advice on how schools and communities can work together to make online safety a part of everyday life?
Miss Rice, can I go?
Um,
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I think awareness is the most important thing. So I know like how our school, my school personally sends like phishing simulations. But I don't know if this happens or not. Miss Rice, you can back me up because I don't click on the links. But I feel like if someone did fall for them, I feel like it would be good for them to send up like a follow-up explanation, like, hey, you fell for this. Here's some things you can do to be better. Like here's some things you can look out for. And so I think when people learn from like real examples like that, or they get like a scary warning email, the lessons like help stick. And I think communities, workplaces and schools alike could use that kind of approach, I think.
I know
Going back
te
to
I
that judgment-free zone and that just sharing information and having open conversations. So thank you for that, Jake. Sorry to interrupt, Christy.
Oh no, I was gonna say, I know on the teacher's end, if a teacher clicks on the phishing link, we have training to do.
Okay, cool.
So, but I think schools and communities can make online safety part of everyday life by just, you know, tr treating it as a shared responsibility. So, when educators, families, and your community all reinforce that the same skills, the same message, asking questions, protecting personal information, reporting concerns, students hear a consistent message, um, so yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right. Final, final big question for you both. What is the key takeaway that you hope listeners remember about this conversation about internet safety?
Okay. So I feel like one of the biggest takeaways for internet safety is that it's not like a big, boring list of steps or rules. It's really about being responsible. Because when you understand what you're doing online and take and apply the steps to protect yourself, you become more confident and you just become more secure and safe overall.
Perfect.
Um, One takeaway for me is I hope that those listening remember that online safety isn't just about rules, it's about that empowerment. When we teach students how to understand the technology, questions what they see, and protect themselves, we're not just keeping them safe today. We're building a confident, capable young people who can lead and innovate and shape our future of cybersecurity.
Perfect. That is a great way to wrap up this discussion and a good reminder that online safety and cybersecurity both start with awareness, building that confidence. And so, Christy and Jake, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your experiences and being so open about it. Both the perspectives from teacher and student are really valuable. Jake, congratulations again on that upcoming keynote. We will literally be cheering you on in December.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and for our listeners, if today's discussion sparked your interest, you can learn more about cybersecurity education and hands-on training opportunities at the U.S. Cyber Range of Virginia Tech and the Virginia Cyber Range websites. Again, we've been speaking with Jake Goodwin, senior at Spotsylvania High School, and Christy Rice, cybersecurity instructor extraordinaire at Spotsylvania High School. And thank you to our listeners for joining us for the next Gen Cyber, the Future of Cybersecurity, a podcast of the U.S. Cyber Range at Virginia Tech.